Today on the show, I've got sports updates related to transfers once again. There's a lot happening. We're going to discuss that on the airwaves. Join us on Facebook at Y1025FM. Yes, for the videos and pictures that I will be showing on our Facebook page at Y1025FM. Join us on Facebook. Let's do this. It's the Y Sports Update. My name is Dennis Ivan Opoku, and the show is proudly brought to you by Cesc Franco Media Institute. Let's do this. Today on the show, much more on discussions concerning the transfers, because there are some stories that has gained a lot of interest. One of them stories is Tijani Reijnders. Yes, Manchester City are in talks with the player and it's close. Fabrizio Romano has reported the story. Now, when you hear that Fabrizio is reporting stories, then you know that we are close to that moment once again. It's June, July, and then early August. Mid-August as well. It's all about transfers. When it happens that way, then you know that the system is hot. Some clubs will be worried and some will also be in the chase for the best of players. Tijani Reijnders, according to sources, is a player who is key in the new setup that Manchester City coach Pep Guardiola wants to make. Kevin De Bruyne has left the club. He's going to Napoli, according to reports. It hasn't been confirmed, but that's the major story in terms of transfers. Also, in Spain, we know that Franco Mastantuono is a player who plays his football for River Plate in Argentina. According to sources, he's also a player that Real Madrid are interested in. Earlier, we all thought that he was going to join Paris Saint-Germain, but according to the Spanish portals, he's close to joining Real Madrid. So we are discussing these two stories as well as other stories. So get on Facebook right now and then have a feel of the pictures. Tijani Reijnders, Franco Mastantuono as well. Bafo joins me on the phone line. Nana Kosi Bafo, Y Sports Pundit, and also a usual guy on the Y Sports review show. Yes, an analyst, a top one, I must say, works with the Busi FM. Well, Bafo, good afternoon. I believe you are fine.
Good afternoon, Ivan. I'm doing very well.
I'm very fine as well. Well, let's do sports right now. Transfers, Manchester United. Now, the focus isn't even on the player alone. No. The focus happens to be on the 115 charges that we are waiting for the decision of the Premier League. We've not heard anything. Manchester City, are busy on the market. One of the players that has been mentioned is Tijani Reijnders. They're also looking at Ryan Cherki and the list. The list will go on and on and on. But let's focus on Tijani Reijnders and what he offers to Manchester City. And you have got all the details. Tell us more on that.
Ivan, first of all, Pep Guardiola and Manchester City are trying to build a new kingdom with a new portals, and that's the reason why majority of the old guys are being started to fade out. So Kevin De Bruyne will not be no more with Manchester City, and in the next year or two we might not be seeing players like Ike Gundogan, Bernardo Silva. All these young guys might be also fading out of the Manchester City project. We saw them bringing on Kuzmanov last season. They've already bought Umar Mamouche, and then they have a couple of other young guys they are bringing on board. And so clearly, the direction is certainly heading towards for the future. And if you rightly know Pep Guardiola, he likes players who are really creative and then offensive. And I feel that Tijani Reijnders have been on the radar of Manchester City for a couple of seasons or two now. Actually, he is somebody, he is not so much into the news when it comes to players who are having flamboyant mentions, but it looks like at the end of every season big clubs try to chase a signature. But I feel that what Manchester City was losing in the shape of, now you see players like Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva, their mentality of pressing to win more is coming down. And in football, if you want to still stay on top, it's either you change the gaffer or you bring in new players who want to build a new profile for themselves. And I feel that's exactly what Manchester City is trying to do. The quality of Tijani Reijnders has never been in doubt. He has been a very consistent player for the AC Milan projects. But I feel it is time to step up and build up his profile. And probably the right channel might be Pep Guardiola and Manchester City.
Well, the right channel might be Pep Guardiola, Manchester City. We are still waiting for the ruling from the Premier League board. Now, you see him signing a lot of these players. Now, the question will be, what if the players or the team is relegated to the championship? Or you don't see that as a possibility. You just feel like he's preparing for whatever might happen.
Ivan, there is an adage in our local parlance which says that it is difficult to overtake from anything. You see, they've pressed these charges for a very long while.
Exactly.
But probably this is Europe and everything is possible, and maybe with time we can see that. But whereas that has not happened, Manchester City too cannot stay idle and say that due to that we are not focusing on our football business. I feel that Pep Guardiola is doing his job with which he has been given. For those duties that should be left to the management of the club to decide on those things. But amidst that 115 charges, of which they have been pressing them with in the last 4 years, Ivan, I feel that technically we should focus on that part. But I feel that amidst all these situations, Manchester City would like to move on with their football business, even if they are banded with that 115 charges. And I feel that when we definitely get to that bridge, we will certainly cross it.
Exactly. I think I agree with you on that. When it happens, we will see what pans out from Manchester City. Well, we are still live on Facebook at Y1025 FM. Join us there. Let's do sports right now. We are discussing transfers. So, why you are players now? I'm pictures for social media and so Facebook at Y1025 FM. Let's go to Argentina. Angel Di Maria is in the news. He has signed a contract with Rosario Central. If you know Angel Di Maria, Paulo Dybala, Lionel Messi, they all hail from the region of Rosario. He's reported to be close to a deal with Real Madrid. His name is Franco Mastantuono. Earlier, there were reports that he was going to be joining Paris Saint-Germain. But Real Madrid, through Juni Calafat, there seems to be some discussions in there, and the player is interested in joining Real Madrid. This player, have you followed him? What have you witnessed about Mastantuono at River Plate? I know he's won the Copa Libertadores with the team, as well as their recent performances. He's been one of the finest of players. He gained a lot of interest since last season. Now he's in the setup for Real Madrid, according to sources. What does he offer Real Madrid?
Ivan, I feel that it might be a project for the future. Now, currently, when you look at majority of the European clubs, I feel that they are all toning the same line. Mm-hmm. Now, they've understand that football has not always been about purchasing the already ripe materials. Yeah. But if you want to stay in the system for a very long time, you need to buy young players and develop the project. And we can have examples of clubs who have used those things and it has worked perfectly for them. Mm-hmm. The Ajax Amsterdam project with Johan Cruyff, the total football is there. Then we saw what Barcelona has been doing with La Masia, which has been a basic source of funding in terms of players for the club. And so now majority of the clubs are turning to that line. The Argentine was part of the team which won the Copa Libertadores when Julian Alvarez was around that region. And so for me, I feel that it is a project for the future. Mm-hmm. And now currently Real Madrid are also targeting to that. And then when you look at the average age of the players that Madrid are signing, the likes of Endrich, Rodrigo Goyes, and Nico Paz, Ada Goulet, these are youngsters that Real Madrid feels that if you inculcate the spirit of Real Madrid into them, in the nearby 1 or 2 years they might flip off and then they might rise up to that level. For me, in terms of technicality, everybody knows that Jabi Alonso likes to have players who can build off and have a good ball carrying skills. And so I feel that it will be a very good project, especially one for the future, and Real Madrid can bang their hopes that maybe in the next 1 or 2 years he can fix into the project and start to give maintenance for the club Real Madrid.
Well, let's head to Italy. There's talk of Cesc Febregas, now the head coach of Inter Milan. Now, the reason why this is gaining a lot of interest is based on the number of young coaches who are getting the jobs now. In Italy, we saw Thiago Motta take over Juventus recently. He was moved for Igor Tudor to get in. We've seen Ruben Amorim with Manchester United. We've seen Mikel Arteta with us now. In comes Cesc Fabregas. Look at the job. Look at the Inter job. Look at how huge it is, the kind of people who have been managing the club in the recent years, and now Cesc has to take over. You also have to keep in mind that Xabi Alonso has also been given a chance at Real Madrid. What's happening? Is that the right move for Inter Milan at this point? That Cesc Fabregas, right in his second season in Serie A after coaching Como, will take a job like Inter Milan's?
Ivan, in my personal opinion, I feel that now the world is understanding that we are having a coaching revolution or a coaching evolution.
Okay.
Those guys who belong to the old school of coaching philosophy, gradually, they are fading of the Marcelo Bielsa, the Carlo Ancelotti, the Jose Mourinho, the Jurgen Klopp. They are almost getting to the end of the tunnel. And so now the revolution of new young guys who have been in the football system are now entering into the fray little by little. So you talk of Ruben Amorim, Xabi Alonso taking over at Real Madrid. Now Fabregas is on the verge of joining Inter Milan as their new head coach. Now you've also get a couple of other young managers who are also strengthening and entering into football mainstream. So I feel that they might not be taking control of football, but as we are saying, player evolution with teams signing young players and hoping for them to take over their clubs in the nearby future. I feel that these young coaches who are evolutioning themselves into the system, clearly, maybe in the next 2 to 5 years, we might be talking about them as the big men when it comes to coaching. But for me, I personally feel that it is becoming more or less like the Frank Lampard story. It is a huge jump. Right from Como to Inter Milan, that is a huge jump. But I feel that maybe that might be a test case for him to prove to the world that indeed he has come of age and he can also step up. Indeed, he has done very fantastic statistics and numbers with Como this particular season. But I feel that it is a huge jump for him. But the onus lies on him to prove some of us wrong, whether he is right for the Inter Milan job. Because Ivan, Inter's coaching job is a little bit poisonous than what you expect at Como, because at Inter at the end of the season we expect you to win everything that you compete for. And so for me, I think that it is a huge jump for him, but it is up to him to prove his critics wrong and prove that indeed the kind of coaching work that he's doing at Como was not just a fluke.
Well, let's move away from the foreign front and deal with some local stories. There might be some Ghanaian interest in some of the transfers. Mohamed Kudus to Manchester United or Chelsea. Iñaki Williams gaining a lot of attention from Galatasaray. But let's move to the Black Queens, because the Black Queens are preparing for the WAFCON. That is the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2024 edition. They played against Ivory Coast. The first one ended 3-3. The second game happened to be a 1-0 defeat to the Black Queens. Now, we've listened to the coach. We've listened to the communications lead for the Ghana Football Association with respect to women's football, Matilda Dimedo, and they talk about Kim Las Bjorkegren, the head coach, realizing that they need to solidify the defense. That is the reason why the focus has been on the defense in the last game that they played. The first one ended 3-3. Are you confident of the Black Queens? Are you confident that coach Kim Las Bjorkegren can do the job at the WAFCON?
Ivan, I personally think that in life, when you are progressing forward, and you decide to tip off the wheel, it takes some little shine out of your success. Nora Hotel was getting on the right track, getting the results and everything.
Yeah.
But I feel that one way or the other, we do not know what happened. Maybe due to her inability to eliminate Zambia for the Women's World Cup, maybe probably the hope in that direction was certainly lost. But I feel that when you look at when you look at the trajectory of how we've gone so far after the end of the Nora Hotel era, I feel that we need to have time, because Ivan, when you're on the right track and you move out from the track, everybody expects you to get somebody who is in the same line with the person who was holding up the track for you.
Exactly.
But for me, I think that it is like employing an expert to a particular job. Then you remove the expert and then you bring in an amateur to continue from that point. For me, I feel that it will take some time for us to reach. But as a Ghanaian, I do not expect so much from the new gaffer of the Black Queens to perform extraordinary, as in what we expect from Nora Hotel. But I feel that maybe in the next 1 year or two, we'll start to see the results we're seeing. But currently, as things look, we need to limit our expectations on what the Black Queens will give us.
Many thanks to you. Let's see what happens and what transpires, especially on the local players in the Black Queens as well as the foreign guys, because we're having a lot of them in the squad now, and that means the local numbers might be reduced. Also, Iñaki Williams and then Mohamed Kudus. We'll be talking about them later on the show. So that was Nana Kwesi for who joined us on the phone lines as we discuss the trending topics. Cesc Febregas to Inter Milan, Tijani Reijnders to Manchester City, Franco Mastantuono, as well as that of the Black Queens, and then how results have panned out in recent times. You've always been a lovely listener of Y1025 FM. I've always enjoyed the fact that you listen to the show. Many thanks to you. We meet tomorrow at exactly 2:30 for the Thursday edition, and then we step into Friday to complete this week. More on transfers later on the show, as well as on trending stories, on developing stories right here on the Big Y. In fact, there are a lot of them. But the trending ones is what we've decided to talk about. So let's meet tomorrow at exactly 2:30. My name once again is Dennis Ivan Opoku. The show was proudly brought to you by Sir Franco Media Institute. If you joined us on Facebook, then many thanks to God bless for streaming on our Facebook platform for us. So let's meet tomorrow. Stay positive.